Keith Cowing is here to explain the mission's significance. He's an astrobiologist and editor of NASAWatchBot.com. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, recovery teams have been training for this for months, if not years. Talk us through what it took to get this sample on US soil.
Well, we've actually had spacecraft deliver samples like this before. So we don't do it all the time, but we've done it every few years. So the basic idea was in place. They practiced, they dropped things out of airplanes, they did all of that. But the whole idea, as was mentioned in your setup piece, was that you want to be sure that when you get that spacecraft and it's inside the chamber where you're going to study it, that when you open it up, the stuff in there is from the asteroid, not from the guys in the truck. You know, I mean, that's like the prime thing. But once you have that, then you can begin to use every tool that we have on Earth to examine this stuff. And even though there's only, 250 grams of material, that should be enough to answer a lot of really big questions.
And so what kind of questions are they hoping to answer, and what happens next as they start to discover or, investigate what's in this sample?
Well, as was mentioned a few moments ago, I'm a biologist by training, so I skew towards the chemicals that have to do with life, but the geologists have their own view, but they both overlap. And the overlap is with the fact that, this asteroid is shaped kind of like this, but it's only half a kilometer wide. But it has rocks on it that only form in the presence of water, and has a lot of water and organic material there. So it came from something bigger, and this was smashed apart billions of years ago, about the time Earth was forming. And so if you look on the surface of this body, which actually is an asteroid, but it's like a comet too, there's all this organic stuff that is involved in forming life on Earth and you and I, and that's how we're talking on television. So you've got a piece of this pristine stuff, billions of years old. And as was mentioned before, if you want to ask where did Earth's water come from, where did all the organic material come from, now you have a pristine piece where you can answer that question.
It also could possibly provide insights into asteroid Bennu. Am I wrong about that? That's from my understanding. And
oh, yes.
If they can find, or what kind of insights are they looking for? Are they hoping to understand more about, answers to avoid a potential collision with this asteroid?
Yes. Again, I'm the biologist, so I'm interested in things. But the bigger picture is that Bennu is an asteroid that will come close to Earth. There's a slight chance it could cause a problem, but it's a very small one. There's another asteroid, and I'll mention it in a moment, that has a bigger issue. But the idea was to go and say, well, all right, this is the sort of asteroid that could pose a problem. What's it made out of? And when I was growing up, they taught us that asteroids are rocks and comets are snowballs. We found out now that it's not like the Hollywood movie where you can just send a nuclear bomb and blow it up. This thing is like a sponge. So if you punch it, your hand kind of goes into it. So that's important to know, because you're not necessarily going to treat that asteroid the way you might treat a more solid one if it's coming towards Earth. So now we have to come up with new ways to deal with that. But the spacecraft dropped off the sample and is going on to Apophis, another asteroid which will come within 20,000 miles of Earth in 2029. So it doesn't have another sample container, but it'll fly around that asteroid and we'll understand yet another one. So again, we just have to get this picture of what these things are like so that if they do pose a hazard, we know what to do and what not to do.
All right, fascinating world you work in. Keith, thanks so much for your insight. Keith Cowing there, astrobiologist and editor of NASAWatchBot.com.